Golden Gate University has been providing access to career-advancing educational opportunities for more than a century. Given this mission, it is fitting that this year's commencement address will be delivered by a visionary and nationally recognized thought leader in workforce development, who also happens to be a dear friend to Golden Gate University, Van-Ton-Quilivan. Ms. Ton-Quinlivan is currently executive in residence at the Institute for the Future in Silicon Valley, where she examines how technology impacts learners, institutions, and employment. For nearly 8 years prior to this role at the IFF, she served in leadership roles with 115 institution California community colleges, most recently as the system's Executive Vice Chancellor for Workforce and Digital Futures. By establishing workforce development as a statewide policy priority, and by inspiring an unprecedented level of innovation, collaboration, and experimentation across the system's career education programs, Ms. Ton-Quinlivan grew public annual investments from $100 million to more than $1 billion during her tenure. Ms. Ton-Quinlivan earned her master's degrees from the Stanford Graduate School of Education and the Stanford Graduate School of Business. She earned her bachelor's degree from Georgetown University. In 2013, Ms. Ton-Quinlivan was named White House Champion of Change in recognition for her contributions to education and industry. She received the California Steward Leader Award in 2017 for her dedication to collaboration and her work to align public, private, and civic sector leaders in support of economic and social mobility for state residents. Vaughn, we are honored to have you speak to us today, and we are pleased to be able to add to this list of accolades by conferring upon you an honorary degree of Humane Letters in recognition of your many achievements in areas so close to our hearts. To do this conferring of the degree, I'd ask you to step forward, and I'd like the chair of our Board of Trustees, Randy Merck, to also step forward and assist. I would like to read the following citation which accompanies the hood and diploma which signify your honorary degree. Van-Ton-Quilivan, educator, strategist, community leader, thought leader of workforce development, distinguished friend of Golden Gate University. We recognize your innovative and transformational service as Executive Chancellor of the California Community College System, the largest and most complex college system in the nation. We applaud your work to ensure that the workforce is a policy priority in California and beyond. We note with gratitude the unprecedented level of innovation, collaboration, and experimentation you made possible in the state's career education programs. We greatly appreciate the analytic and strategic acumen you have applied to the interdependence of education and employment, and honor you for sharing your insights broadly through your influential essays, speeches, and memberships. We admire the exemplary commitment you have demonstrated to the causes that benefit the students and workers of California and the nation. Therefore, it is with honor and privilege that as the president of the Golden Gate University, and by virtue of the authority vested in me by the university's Board of Trustees on this 27th day of April in the year 2019, that I confer upon you the degree Doctor of Humane Letters, honoris causa, with all the rights and privileges thereunto appertaining. Congratulations.
Thank you, President Fike, Board Member Merck, and the administration and faculty of Golden Gate University. I am honored to speak with today's soon-to-be graduates, their friends and families. My name is Van-Ton-Quilivan. I come by many labels, and I share with you a few today in the hope that we find some in common. Label 1, I am a change maker. I was named a White House Champion of Change by the Obama administration for leading transformation in higher education, named California Steward Leader for bringing together public, private, and civic sectors in support of social mobility for California's residents, and named Sacramento Magazine's Powered by Women as a leader who inspires positive change. Label 2, I am an executive. My career spanned both the private and public sectors. In government, I served as the Executive Vice Chancellor, driving the workforce mission of the California Community Colleges. As President Fike mentioned, that is the largest system of higher education in the nation. In the private sector, I was head of workforce development for a company of 20,000 men and women. I took the company from having no opinion in workforce development to becoming a nationally recognized industry best practice. Label 3, I am a spouse and a parent. My husband and I have been married for 20 years. We have 2 teenagers, ages 13 and 17. But the most important label I want to share with you is label 4, immigrant. I am an immigrant, first generation into this country. This label has meaning because it lets you know that my journey began behind the starting line. And if I could find my way to become a change maker, an executive, a spouse and a parent, you can too, if you so choose. In 1975, war displaced my parents from what they knew. With 3 small children in tow, including me, my parents escaped out of Vietnam and arrived in the United States with not much more than the clothes on our back. Growing up, I remember how hard it was for my parents how hard my parents worked to make ends meet. And yet, they never expressed regret for what they lost. Rather, they were always grateful for the opportunity ahead. Not surprisingly, my parents could not give us much advice on how to navigate career and life, since they were new to the American way. So after I finished college, I ambled into my journey of work and life, uncovering tips along the way. And so if you're interested, I would like to pay these forward to you today. Tip number 1, tame your internal voice of judgment. Tame your internal voice of judgment. I actually learned this phrase doing my MBA from Stanford. The loudest voice that keeps you from realizing your own potential is not that of your boss, nor your parents, nor your spouse, but that of your own. In your head, you may hear this voice of judgment speak to encourage, but beware when it discourages. Does it say, I'm not good enough, I'm not ready, I don't look the part, or if I try, I'm going to fail or look foolish? As a Vietnamese female, my voice of judgment also had a cultural overlay, telling me I was not acting proper as a female. One time at work, my voice of judgment was so loud that I blurted out, I can't, I've never done it before. And in a moment of coaching, my wise and patient boss replied, you will figure it out. And he was right. I did figure it out, with some help, that is. In the future of work, many things will need to be figured out. Retrain your voice of judgment to encourage, not discourage. Tip number 2, broaden and deepen your expertise. Broaden and deepen your expertise. With your GGU degree, you have gained a solid foundation on which to base your career. Don't stop there. Keep learning, stay current. There are many ways. Remember to ask your supervisors and mentors for projects. I'm interested in working with a high growth client so that I can better understand tax strategies for growing companies. I want to have a global assignment. I want to work on digital transformation. Remember to ask. Don't limit your learning to just opportunities inside the organization. Attend workshops and conferences. Take online courses to round out your knowledge. Do pro bono work and serve on commissions and nonprofit boards. My road to becoming an expert took this latter, more nonlinear road. I started with a desire to better understand the community colleges and its role in workforce development, then committed time to reading the research, doing pro bono work, and serving on commissions and boards before turning the work into my day job. This learning journey got me positioned with the expertise and network to be the best person for the job when it became available. Tip number 3, collect mentors along the way. Collect mentors along the way. My mentors don't look like me. My 2-time boss and mentor was a man, Peter Darby, who was the chief financial officer in his 40s when I first worked for him and hired me again when he became CEO. Marsha Johnson was the chief human resources officer of the Southern Company and a prominent African-American leader in Atlanta when we met through an executive development program. Gail Shetler had stepped down as lieutenant governor of Colorado and got paired with me in a mentoring program. She gave me my first tutorial on how to navigate government. My mentors were of different ages, different ethnicities, different genders, lived in different states, had different experiences, and owned different strengths. Thanks to them all, I made better decisions in navigating career and life and avoided the common potholes. Number 4, feedback is a gift. Feedback is a gift. This one's really tough. You don't have to 100% agree with the feedback, but if it comes from a person of credibility, not from your social media account, it is important to take it graciously and simply say, thank you. Take time to emotionally process it, but also take time to discern whether there is a nugget of truth in what you heard. Back when I was a newly minted MBA, Peter Darby told me I seemed nervous. I was too quiet during business meetings and that my voice trembled. I said thank you, and he actually offered to send me to a public speaking coach. Later in my career, Marsha Johnson observed that I was repeating an unhelpful behavior that was holding me back. And I said thank you and worked on myself to break the cycle. Feedback is a gift. Learn to say thank you. Tip number 5, intersect the future. Intersect the future. We are all very busy in the here and now, but don't forget to look up and outwards at the 10-year future. Consider what might look different then for your profession, for your organization, or the industry in that future of work. So take a moment and play along with me. Imagine, what if in the 10-year future, everything rote and repetitive in your profession is automated and done by machines? What kind of work will value the human touch? Your colleagues can be humans, robots, or avatars. What skills make you a good colleague to them? Technology platforms and the algorithms become the new middle management to assign and match work. This means your online reputation is a must, not a nice to have, because reputation data is what an algorithm can read. How others rate you, what experiences are in your portfolio, your demonstrated competencies, your earned credentials, your ability to display who you're connected to and can influence, and so on. How will you build your online reputation in addition to your physical one? You self-identify through a personalized learning record not tied to any education institution or employers. By scanning a personal QR code, an employer can see your skills, experiences, formal and informal education and training, all verified and recorded in blockchain. How will you engage in lifelong learning as a way to differentiate yourself? Workers increasingly go independent because independent becomes so commonplace that people no longer will say they go to work, because that implies the outdated notion that work is a physical location with a physical boss. Instead, people will say they will do work without expectations of going anywhere physical. What do you know about running your own business? Environmental stressors become so pronounced that carbon emission becomes strictly enforced. How will work occur differently? Perhaps the virtual world becomes where you collaborate. Lastly, because of distrust of the pervasive use of algorithms, organizations that emphasize transparency in their culture begin to stand out in a good way. What if everything you type and everything that you text for work becomes visible to the rest of the organization? privacy norms will have changed. So whoa, let's come back from the 10-year future into the here and now. What would you do differently to future-proof yourself and your organization for this future of work? Remember the tips. Tip 1, tame your voice of judgment. Remember, you got this. Tip 2, broaden and deepen your expertise, especially skills valuable in the future. Tip 3, collect mentors along the way. Tip 4, take feedback as a gift. Tip 5, intersect the future. Periodically look ahead even as you focus on today. Remember, we are all immigrants into the future. Just know that we will figure it out. Thank you.